So people definitely don't want to work nowadays, especially the younger generation. And honestly, man, I don't blame them. I think we're kind of coming into a state of understanding that, we're kind of being used for our time for not much benefit of our own. And let me cook here for a second because I know there's an argument where it's like, well, we need those people. We need people to keep working and all that stuff. And I definitely agree. I just think we have kind of seen that most jobs, right? Like the biggest companies, let's just go with that because that's where it has the most employees, right? So we go like Amazon, Walmart, any company that like BlackRock kind of owns as well, if you guys know about that type of stuff, where it's like they definitely have the most employees and the biggest, you know, just the biggest companies in general, the most warehouses, the most stores, all that jazz, right? So it's going to have the most employees. But a lot of times, man, if not majority of the time, you can't have like a livable wage working those jobs. Especially if you're like kind of in the city. I don't know, it kind of depends on where you're at, right? Where it seems like a lot of people are kind of just scraping by, right? The amount of times I see so many homies that need to like have roommates, like up to like 4 to 5 roommates just to afford like a decent place in the city is pretty crazy, man. It's actually insane because, dude, when I was like 18, making garbage money, but I was able to afford a pretty nice apartment, like nicer than what I'm like living at right now, and I was making like, man, like a fourth as much as I was now, and it's crazy, man. And so it makes sense because it's like, I don't know, I feel like there's kind of a waking up where people kind of realize like, life is passing you by and the companies you work for don't care for you. And it's just like you're not even able to afford to live outside of work anyway. Rent's too high, food's so expensive, and it's like, there's some decisions to make, and you can argue like, there's this argument, right, where it's like, oh, those are beginner jobs, right? Like if you're someone who works at like fast food or something, let's say, they're like, well, you're not supposed to be there forever, which is such an interesting argument people make. So I'm like, well, someone always has to fill that role, right? So I agree with what they're saying that you should, potentially strive for more, but at the end of the day, I don't know, it's their life. I think at the end of the day, we just are kind of filling up the void of 40 hours a week to be able to enjoy the rest of the week. And I think regardless of what you do, if you're working 40 hours, you should be able to afford in whatever city you're in. So that company should accommodate for that. Which is an interesting argument because depending on where you live, you'll make more, but that's already the case, man. Dude, fast food around me, it's crazy. I'll see fast food that, like, you can work there and it's like $20 an hour. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Back in my day, it was like, it was like $7, $8 if you're lucky. Now it's like starting pay is like around 20 for fast food. And obviously inflation, so it's like, that $20 doesn't go as far as it would 10 years ago or whatever. So it's interesting, man. So a lot of people like definitely don't want to work. And I don't know, I guess people also see like all the billionaires and all this stuff, all this wealth, like the wealth gap is definitely real. 100%. That's the thing I wish people would focus on more. Maybe some people do. I don't really pay attention too much. I just kind of, meditate and think to myself and read books, I guess, especially lately. But it's like I wish people would focus on that more because it's not like, it shouldn't be like left versus right, race versus race, gender versus gender, and like it's rich versus poor. It's the people that have like mad money who are buying yachts and flying to these private islands, you know what I mean? People like buying these politicians. And that's the real wealth gap. And it's crazy, man, because obviously if you're born into money, you just have a leg up regardless, right? And that's obvious, but it's like if you're not born into that, you're kind of just always clawing your way through to get to where they started, which is an interesting way of looking at things. And it can be a little depressing, it can be motivating, just depends on how you look at it, right? You can look at everything, black or white. It's whatever one you want to focus on really in that moment, you know what I mean? But I do understand, and as someone, like I've worked my entire life, and I actually think work is good. I think as a man, purpose is so important. You need to have a reason to wake up, but a reason to push the needle forward. So work kind of can supplement that if you don't have, extracurricular activities or like projects you work on in your own time, you know what I mean? We need that. I think as people in general, but I'm a guy, so I know as a guy we definitely need that in some aspect, right? And yeah, man, it's kind of a shame that just money or jobs just aren't paying well enough. Like, yeah, there are some really good jobs out there. Like, if you're to do like cybersecurity and stuff, like obviously there's some fat paying jobs out there, but that's more specialized, you know. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think everyone should be able to afford a place to live, you know, solo. You know, I feel like most, if not everyone, should be able to, if they work 40 hours, should be able to pay rent in whatever city they're in and be able to get a house, you know? That was the case back in the day. You could be a milkman and have a family. And people wonder why the birth rates are so low. It's like, man, people don't know how this world's going to be. It's like, bro, the job barely pays me enough for myself. Like, what am I haven't even enjoyed life yet. I'm going to bring in another life? Like, no. I think that's where a lot of people are right now. And I'm just saying it makes sense, man. It makes sense. There needs to be a change in the system. And I know there's like, you know, all the sayings like pull you up by your bootstraps, like all that stuff. But I just feel like that's like simping for capitalism. And I think there's some really good things about capitalism in a sense. But I think we are getting to the point where it is kind of breaking in a way. I don't have a better answer. Like, obviously, it seems like the answer people give where it's like, well, if you don't want that, what do you want? Socialism? That never works. And it's like, I don't know, man. Can we just like, maybe we can come up with a new one somehow? But obviously it's super complicated. It's like, you can argue all day on either side, and you know, there's no like right answer, right? Otherwise we'd probably know it. I don't know. Kind of just feels like we're all playing pretend, though, to be honest. It feels like we're all playing pretend, like all these companies that you know, the rabbit hole goes deep. If you know, you know. Like, what they're paying for and how they're paying for it, it's insane, man. It's insane. And you know, you're deemed unworthy to enjoy your life. But it's interesting, man. It's definitely like shifted a lot. I think that's why so many people are on like a social media grind, right? Because like that is where a lot of the money is nowadays, is the advertisements for that, which obviously makes sense. So a lot of people want to get in on that, and I think you should. Seems like the only way. It's actually very interesting. And I guess there probably potentially might be enough for everyone. Maybe. I don't know. But I just wanted to talk. I don't even know if I made the entire point I wanted to make, but I definitely understand why people don't see a purpose in working right now. You know, people say, oh, I don't want my tax dollars to pay for them. And it's like, this might be a hard pill to swallow, bro. It's not. It's not, bro. You should look into how this place actually works, man. Some of us are very fortunate, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing, man. Is some people are so fortunate that they realize, I guess, is that the word privilege? Is that like what people mean by that, I guess? It has a weird connotation to it. But I do feel like you get a little detached when, you know, you were fortunate. If you are a Nepo baby. Like, it's just so foreign to you, like, to not have that. Like, there's no way to fully comprehend that unless, like, I don't know, you crop dust yourself with some mushrooms maybe and start thinking about it. I don't know what you need to do that. But, you know, opportunity is, makes the whole difference. And no, I'm not talking like anything wild. I'm just saying on an individual basis, you know. And as someone that has worked my entire life, man, like, I don't know. I honestly don't care if my neighbor, if he chose not to work and he was still able to live a life and to afford and get food and pay rent. Like, I just find that such an evil way of thinking, to think that he shouldn't. It's like, oh, I'm wasting my time, you know, slaving away, and I earned all this stuff. You didn't do what I did. I don't know. That's so selfish. It's like, who cares, bro? I don't know. Is that crazy to think? Like, I honestly just don't care. I don't care. And they're like, oh, the system will start collapsing if we don't have people, you know, fill in all the voids we need, right? Like, all the positions we need. It's like, I don't know. I think we actually would start getting rid of a bunch of garbage companies and a bunch of garbage products if we weren't trying to just like funnel making all these pointless jobs in the way. Like making, garbage stuff that hurts the environment, or making toxic food that hurts us, pointless media, that I feel like you could argue poisons our brain. I feel like we'd start getting rid of that and getting like people that actually, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, you might enjoy not doing anything for a minute, but you most likely will do something. You need to, in the sense of for your own well-being, you need to work towards something. I think honestly we would get a lot more artists and stuff like that, instead of just like, art for algorithm's sake, if that makes sense. Like, I think we'd get like more genuine people. I think we'd actually find what it means to be a person again. Maybe that's a long shot. Maybe that's I don't think it'd be right away or anything, but I just feel like we gotta kind of fix this place, man. And I don't know. I get that, I don't think I have a popular take on this type of stuff. But I'm not trying to be, man. I'm just, it kind of just feels like we're playing pretend, and then it's like people want people to be punished if they're not playing pretend as well, because it's like you brainwash yourself into doing a thing, and I worked my whole life, and I don't want this person to speed run what it took me forever to do. And it's like, I definitely get what you guys are saying, but times are changing, bro. Times are changing. It's weird right now. It's very weird. It's going to keep getting weirder, too. 100% across the board. Dude, I swear, and maybe you could argue this with every year, but I think a year from now, next year, 2026, in June, it's gonna be a different world in a lot of aspects. Especially 2 years from now. Oh my God. Like, it's gonna be insane. It's always insane though, right? But yeah, I don't know. I don't blame people for not wanting to necessarily participate in this system, man. And I get why you would argue why everyone should. I get it. I get what you're saying. But I think there can be a middle ground, but I actually think it's interesting, right? Because if someone doesn't want to work, right, that you could probably label that as being selfish, right? But it's obviously selfish if you feel like everyone needs to work and live a life they don't enjoy just because you did, right? That's obviously selfish as well. So it's weird, right? That's the paradox of everything, right? You can argue anything. You can argue anything. And I feel like we don't really get anywhere with that. You know what I mean? I feel like we have to find the middle. It's interesting, right? It's almost like a psyop where people are like, oh, you're a fence sitter, pick a side. It's like, I'm not playing your game, bro. I don't want to play your game. I want to talk about what's real. I want to just be honest about it. Let's stop having pride over what we wish was true, and just analyze what's actually going on. But I think that's a foreign concept to a lot of people, which is understandable. But I guess sometimes I just believe we could do better. I guess that's what it boils down to. I believe we could do better. I hope one day we do. But anyway, man, make sure to do something for yourself today. Make sure to do something for someone else today. And regardless, boys, it's a weird world. It is what it is. I could talk about this another time, but take care, though. I appreciate you listening, all right?